Hi everybody, and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, I'm going to go over the idea of shouldering and using the king as a strong fighting piece. So let's look at this one example, and I'll explain what shouldering is along the way. So you'll see here, it says king and pawn endgame, shouldering. To win, you must keep the black king as far away from the pawns as possible. Use your king to shoulder the black king away. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, I think a lot of novice players are tempted to just push the pawn and just try to run the king up the board, maybe this way, and try to attack, or maybe straight up the board. Who knows? That's not the best way to go about doing it. And the reason why that's not is because that allows black to come in and maybe attack, or maybe try to get a draw. So what you want to do is you want to use your king to kind of block off black's king. So if you could build a little wall here, or maybe here, or maybe here, depending on where you want to do it, then you're keeping black away. You can advance your pawn up the board, and then if black's king is over here somewhere, then you can bring it in. So let's look at that. Let's practice. Let's put it at grandmaster level, practice. So you want to bring your king this way, right? And look at how far black's king is away. So you're approaching. Now you're not running up the board for the pawn. You're running to keep black's king away. So now notice that if black was moving, he would go here. Black would go to e5. I don't want that to happen. So I'm not going to push the pawn. I'm going to use my king. Shoulder off. Same idea. They want to go in this way. No. They want to go in this way. No. That's the idea of shouldering. You're using your king to block. So if you look at black here, black could go here next move. That's fine. Right? I can push this up, 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 and I'm going to go 1, 2, and that's not too bad. So instead of me going back, and then we'd repeat, push the pawn. Now they push their pawn. So they have to kind of calculate this. If I go here, they go here, I go there, right? So you have to imagine what's happening. But see, the point is the king is far away. Right now it's blocked off. But this king is controlling these 3 squares. And also this square. So now, do this. Now, where do I go? Here. And look at that. Now, if it were me, which it is me, I could just go forward and do that, and that's going to be simple mate. You're just going to have to go back up, and then depending on however you plan to mate, I tend to do it like this, and just keep it on this diagonal, like this. Just don't stalemate the opponent, and then just for good measure, we'll go backwards. Cool. That's one. That's one way to do it. Now remember, the point is that you're using your king. You can think about this little arc here as the shoulder pad. You're using this king to shoulder off the opponent. So let's just show a way that it doesn't work, just so you can see it. So it doesn't work if I go here, and let's just say I want to run up the board. I don't know, maybe people want to push their pawn or something. Now look, black's controlling that, black's controlling that. And by the time I get over here, black's covering this square, like this. Notice how they're using their king to block me, right? So now look at what's controlled. Look at the control that black has. Now I'm the one in the box. See that? So that's the key. You have to make sure you're using your king as a fighting piece. And now you have to be careful to not lose this thing. So you could probably lose it if you wanted to, but if you somehow, I don't know, did something, well, this is just going to be a draw, I guess. No, this is going to be a loss now because now they have the opposition, right? So they would have to go here. Yep, exactly. Yep. And then I have to give ground. Yep, and that would be a loss for white, right? So look at how delicate this position is. It can be a win, it could be a draw, or it could be a loss, all with just one pawn each. So again, just to see it quickly, right, using the king as a fighting piece, right? They want to get in, they want to get here, no. They want to get there, no. Let's push the pawn. They did exactly what they did last time. Take it, and then you could just mate from there. Now here's a good point. Don't push the pawn, right? Because they'll get here. Instead, actually, no, you probably could get it. Never mind. Because you have the opposition. See? Boom. You have the opposition. Yep. And that's going to be mate in just a few. Yeah, and I wanted to play that out. You can play that out if you need to. That's one example. Now let's look at another example. This is shouldering 2. Black is going to win the white pawn. Okay. Can you see why? Next, you must try to defend. Find the right path for your king. So it already tells us why. So let's just think about it for a second. You want to get in to defend this? How many moves is that taking? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. Well, look at the route that they have. By the time they get here, they're guarding that square, and the pawn's guarding this square. So there's already a bit of protection there. So let's just show that. If I want it to go this way, it does not work. Like I was just showing. See? Look at the power of the king and the pawn. I go this way, well, what's it going to accomplish? Look at how everything is protected. I can seal them, but then they go here. And I can't hold on to the pawn. Right? And now this is just a loss. Right? I can't get behind the pawn. Now look, they're shouldering me. See how interesting that is? So that's one idea. Okay, so don't go that way. Don't go right to the pawn. Plus, if we didn't know we were going to lose the pawn, we were told we were going to lose the pawn. So what do? Do you run this way? Do you run straight? Well, the idea you might realize is you want to get behind, depends on how you look at it, in front of their pawn, right? Their pawn's going up the board. So in front of their pawn. So you want to use your king to fight. So let's go here. Now we have the opposition. Now let's see. If they take that pawn, we take opposition. And now this is a simple draw. Right? You keep your king in front of the pawn, or you keep opposition. One of those two things. Right? Approach the pawn. They have to defend it. Keep your king in front of the pawn. Approach the pawn. Keep your king in front of the pawn. Keep the king in front of the pawn. That's the idea. Right? If their king was here, if it was the other way around, then there's a bigger problem. But nope, this is gonna be a draw. Right? The engine says it, but you have to make sure you're able to do it. So just keep your king in front. Yep. And eventually this will be stalemate, or they'll let me capture it, depending on how the computer wants to play it. Yep. King in front of the pawn. King in front of the pawn. King in front of the pawn. That's a draw. Okay. That's basically the idea. So this is a short lesson on the basic idea of shouldering and an endgame fundamental that you have to know. But you want to think about these king arms and shoulders here because they are fighting pieces. If you bring the king to a nice central location, you can block off the opposing king, right? And in cases where you're losing, you could actually get a draw if you're careful enough with the king. So that's pretty much it for this video. It's just shouldering and being able to understand how to use your king in the endgame. If you like the content, please consider liking and subscribing on YouTube. I try to put videos out as often as I can. The whole idea is chess for charity, which means you subscribe to me and any income I get, half of it will go directly to charity. This month, the charity is the American Heart Association. And that's it. It'll be a different one next month. Thanks so much. Bye.